I say my destiny's recipe is to give them the best of me. So I just want to give my best to my kids, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Welcome to Girl Dad Nation. I'm excited because I have Mike, aka Dad Rap, with me on the show. I discovered him on Instagram. His channel is at Dad Rap Music. So hopefully you've seen his stuff. It's amazing. I love when dads just do stuff creative. He writes music around parenting and dad life in particular. So it's awesome. I love it. It's something great to listen to with your kids as well. So my daughters love dancing along to the music. But yeah, excited. Let's get into it. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Matthew. And that's exactly all about dad rap. Dad rap music is all about having music that's 100% clean that we could share with our kids, that's fun, that's about dad life and being with our kids.
Yeah, so you were telling me your oldest is almost 9. So I want to kind of turn back the clock and just let's go back even before kids. Like you have a passion for music. You write your own lyrics. How has music been a part of your life?
It's always been there for me. Writing my raps, rhyming, making songs, making these original songs and being creative is just an outlet that I need in my life. And it's been there with me since I was a little kid. I started writing rhymes when I was 11 years old, and I see it in my kids now. I see it in my daughter. She's a really amazing singer, and I actually did a song with her that's going to be on my album that's coming out on June 13th. It's called the Midlife Crisis EP, Dad Rap, and it's produced by a group called The Old Heads. I got a production team, and I'm really excited. And the one song that I'm going to start pushing right off the bat once it gets released is a song called Snacks and Shows that I did with my daughter. So to see her have that love of music and be able to do a song with her is really what this whole thing is about.
That's great. And how has like having your daughter, having your son, how has that just changed your perspective on life?
It's changed so significantly from being carefree and having responsibilities, but not having that responsibility of parenthood that you have to show up every day and you have to give it your best, do your best, not try, just do it. That's Nike, right? Just do it. And you have that every day to get up to say that I got to get these kids out the door and go on my day, get things done around the house, whatever you need to do
Yeah.
to provide for that family. And that's how it is being a dad. And, obviously our dads and their dads had different because there's different generations. And now with the proliferation of social media and apps and YouTube and iPads and phones, this is a whole new paradigm now for this generation of dads to deal with. And the music touches on those subjects to say that we're not perfect and this is tough in this time and age to raise kids. And we're
Yeah.
here to know that everyone's going through this together. And that's what that community feeling that I think Girl Dad Nation is also trying to bring together a community of dads to say, all right, it's okay that we're dealing with all this stuff and let's have fun with it.
Yeah, it can be tough at times, especially when you're in the thick of it. You know, you're dealing with tantrums, you're dealing with all of the messiness of life. But you put like a really cool creative spin on it and to kind of claim it as your own, the dad rap and the lyrics that just speak to other dads in that same stage of life, I think is really great. Um, when you think about your lyrics, where does the inspiration come from for you?
Every day, everyday things that we all go through that seem so mundane, but when I make fun of it through my rhymes, my lyrics are very self-deprecating. I don't care about being the pun of the joke. I don't care about dancing around on Instagram and making people laugh. because life's too short, and I just want to enjoy it while we're here and while we have these moments with our kids, because you hear things that oh, enjoy it while you have it, because when they leave the house you're alone.
Yeah.
So enjoy those moments, and that's really how it all comes about with bringing it back to the music.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast the time goes. Like my oldest is almost 6. Your oldest is almost 9, and the time just goes by so fast. But uh, how do your kids relate to the music now? Do they embrace it, or is your oldest kind of getting too close to that teenager years where she's kind of embarrassed by dad and stuff?
That's part of this whole thing. Is my daughter is getting older, and I am trying to find a way to relate with her, to make this music with her, because she's so interested in singing, and I want her to have that outlet that I had when I was young. And making the music with her, it's hit or miss. It's 50-50. Sometimes she really wants to do it, sometimes she's not into it. It's kind of funny because I put a little skit on the album that's coming out June 13th
Mhm.
on all your streaming platforms, Dad Rap, the Midlife Crisis EP, it's going to be called. And I have a song with her that she sings at Snacks and Shows. She sings the hook, the chorus, and she's amazing at it. And then at the end, I have like a little outro, and she says, I don't like dad rap music or something like this. And she says, Taylor Swift is better. And I'm like, Taylor Swift is better? And she's like, yeah. And it's just that love-hate relationship she's had with the music. And she's like, I don't want that on the album because, I don't like Taylor Swift as much anymore. And I like your songs now. And, but I'm putting
Yeah.
it on there because it just shows that, up and down, that your kids love it one day and the other day they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what they like latch onto like culturally, like Taylor Swift's popular and then that popularity fades and other things become popular. But it's cool that like as a dad, like you're with them through that whole journey and you can kind of celebrate those things. Like my daughters were really into Bluey and now they kind of like shows that are more like bigger kid shows. But I'm like, oh, but we used to
Yeah.
love Bluey, and then they'll still watch Bluey with us, and we've got like the younger kids, so you can see how they still have that glimmer that they appreciate those things. But yeah, it changes, and it's cool when you can support them in that and find things that they're really interested in, and then how you, as a dad, you might not gravitate towards that naturally, but you find ways to connect with them and you try to be interested in what they're interested in.
Yeah, and it's tough being a girl dad, right? Because I was working on a song about how I can't play Barbies. I can never get the hook to sound like decently, but there was an idea that I had would be about how dads, I never played with Barbies growing up, so I don't know how to do it. And I try, and, mommy's better at playing Barbies. So those types of things that especially girl dads have to go through to try to relate with their daughters is probably
Mhm.
something you probably talked about in other podcasts, I could imagine.
Yeah, we've talked about like painting nails, and there was a dad on how we did a whole episode where he talked about like going to the nail parlor and getting a pedicure with his daughters, and just like that's something that could be a big hurdle for some dads, but he's like, you just have to do it. Like your daughters aren't gonna want to do that forever. There may be a point where they like have no interest in that, but he's like, yeah, well, my daughters are like at that age where like they just want dad present and he's able to just enjoy like a nice Saturday with them and do that. That's something he's bonded with.
This is brilliant. I need to do content with me getting a pedicure with my daughter. I think this is a winner. I think this is a winner. I think I'll get a lot of views.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Music video at the spa with your daughter.
Oh
That's
my God,
great.
that's funny.
Yeah. And then we do like spa days. So, we'll like make their bubble bath at home and then get them in their robes and then daddy will paint their nails and they just get like the spa treatment at home. But that's one way, that like they can all participate. So even like the youngest daughters kind of get their bath and feel a part of it too.
That's fun. No, it's always fun to try to find things to do, especially I live in New York, upstate New York, and it's so cold during the winter. It's fun, you know, to come up with some new ideas to do while you're in the house.
Yeah. And yeah, you've got this lyric like forgive me if I mess this up, but like ride with me, like dad rap. And you talk about like the different cars that dads drive. Talk a little bit about your vehicle. How do you get your kids to and from?
So that song is That Dad Life, and I actually redid it for the album. So there'll be an album version coming out, and I think I'm going to have to redo that video for the album.
Uh-huh.
And so I have this video where I hop in the Honda Accord at the beginning. I don't know if you could say brands on these podcasts, but
That's fine.
so I have a family sedan. You know, I say
Yeah.
ride with me in your family sedans, your SUVs, or your minivans,
Yeah.
and it's just like, okay, this is what dads are driving, and kids in the back seat. You know, you got the third row
Yeah. Third
seating.
row.
I say third row seating, you at least taking a beating, you know,
Uh-huh.
and it's like crumbs all over from food your kids eating, you know.
Hmm.
So you could just visualize you being in whatever it was, the minivan, the SUV, or your family sedan, and it's just covered in cracker crumbs and different go-go squeeze packets, and they're on the floor, and you're driving and you ask them a question, they don't hear you, and you're like, they're not paying attention to me, and you know, you just kind of have to we've all been there. So we've all been there, and that's why I read a book that was very instrumental to me being able to finally find this creative voice, and it's called Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. Rick Rubin, the famous rap and rock
Hmm.
producer, who really, if it wasn't for him, I don't think rap would have been mainstream in the mid '80s. You know, he really invented that Beastie Boys look. He invented the way that LL Cool J would look. He invented the way Run DMC would look. And without those three instrumental groups, when I first saw rap in the mid '80s and was drawn to it, and in Rick Rubin's book, he talks about a lot of things. And he says that, you know, just getting this album out is the success and releasing it to the world, because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to find that creative voice. But reading that book, and if anybody's a creative out there, I highly suggest it, because it really lets you open yourself up to the universe and the energy that it could bring you.
Absolutely. I've got so much respect for anyone with a creative idea that just takes the next step and just does something. So many people talk about, oh, I'll start a podcast or like I'll train for a marathon or something. And it's always this like dream out there, but it just takes like that first step. And even if it's not a success, in the words of like how many views or how much money it makes or whatever, just like the fact that you just have something that you chase after and just go after it because it fills you, it's something that's life-giving for you. I think that that is a success in itself, as you said. And I that's something too with my daughters. Like even if my daughter isn't the most athletic or the most artistic, but like just to encourage that creativity and that drive to go after something. And it's something that we try to encourage all the time is to learn something new and try something new, even if it's intimidating. But I think as parents, we have a unique privilege to be at a point where we can introduce our kids to these things and really support them wherever they're at.
I said before that my kids sometimes like it, sometimes they don't like the dad rap
Uh-huh.
music. But when it really comes down to it, when I'm talking to my daughter and she says to me, you know what, why I like your dad rap is because it's your dream. And showing your kids that you can still continue to go for your dream and never give up and have that determination. That's me being a role model. And I have given up in the past. And this time around, as you said, you just got to take that first step. And all you can do is just a little bit every day. And if you get yourself so fixated on, here are all the goals I want to accomplish with this, you'll never take that first step. And then you won't make it. So you just keep on doing a little bit every day. And that's all you can possibly do.
I love that. And with your daughter now, does she talk about like what she wants to do, like quote, when she grows up at this point?
She wants to be an actor, an actress. And I said, go for it. If that's what she wants to do, we may look at, maybe this summer we'll look at some agencies. It's difficult, but as I said, I live pretty close to New York City. So
Mhm.
getting down there and her trying out for stuff, if that's what she really wants to do, then I'm 100% supportive of it. And I think we all have such a limited amount of time here. We all have potential. And there's this saying in the movie Bronx Tale that goes, there's nothing more disappointing than, a waste of talent. And I kind of put a spin on that, that we all have potential. And everything that I do, I just want to try to reach my potential. We have potential energy. I am an engineer by trade and took a lot of physics, and there's potential energy, and then you make it into kinetic energy. And I like to put a little spin on that, that you can either have positive energy that you're going to put in the world or negative energy. And I just want to be that part of the equation that's positive energy and be the best example I can be for my kids. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to do it every day the best I can.
That's great. Yeah, I love that sentiment and that yeah, just the way that you talk about potential and going after those things. It's part of the reason why like I've loved chatting with people on the podcast because I've had people like yourself who are really into music and actors on the podcast or scientists and just seeing like all these different people like doing what they love and then this shared unity of dads like yourself who love just being a dad and being in the middle of the dad life while they have all this other stuff going on. But it's so cool, and I think like oftentimes like you become a parent and you feel like your whole identity is wrapped up in like what do the kids need, and sometimes even as parents we lose sight of like what fills us and those creative sparks that we've enjoyed, and we feel like it's sort of this either or thing, like I got to set my dream aside so that I can do whatever for my kid. Or sometimes people, I think, wrongly like live vicariously through their kid and put so much pressure on their kid. But I think like people that try to keep things in proper balance and still go after things that bring them joy and be that role model for their kids to go and pursue those interests, I think is great.
You said it so well. I totally agree that you can lose your identity when you have kids, and it's important to still have your own life. You might not have the same life you had when you were in your 20s and you were going out on a Saturday night, but you still need a life outside of your kids. And if it's just all about your kids, then you have to keep in mind that you're living your own life. You're not living their life. They are going to choose. All you can do is guide them. You can't control them. And that's something that, I've learned what my kids have taught me. And it's that you don't have control. You don't have control of them. All you can do
Yeah.
is guide them. And, all you can have control of is your own actions and your own emotions. And those are difficult for dads. I'm in my mid 40s. I can't control my own emotions sometimes. And I think I've learned a lot from being a dad that that's the one thing you can control in this situation is your own emotions. You can't control your kid. You said your kids are having a tantrum. You can't stop that. All you can do is help them along the way. So screaming is another thing I've learned. It just doesn't work in that situation.
Yeah, I've really had to like humble myself and also like know that even though it's difficult, like your kid's having a tantrum and they're screaming, like to really take a step back and like check myself and also understand like yeah, my kid's only 5. Like their worldview is so limited right now, and like what they know right now, this is really important to them. And how can I like come down to their level? And also, things aren't as big of a deal as maybe I put pressure on it. Like you talked about the car being a mess, and that's just like a common, that's just a reality right now. And to just kind of be okay with those things. Like you might not have the car the way you want it. Your house might not always be as clean as you want it. You might not be making as much money as you want, but to just kind of enjoy what it is right in front of you. And then with that, like kind of work family balance, wanted to ask just how you manage in your house, um, like how you put those things in priority. And then with rap too, like also to go off of that, why rap? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious what about the style of rap spoke to you?
When I was 7, 8 years old, I heard LL Cool J, I heard Run DMC, and I just wanted to do that. I wanted to learn how to do it, and I just continue to mimic it. I have one older brother, and he loved it. He bought all these tapes, and you always look up to your older brother. So I wanted to learn everything about the rappers and everything that he was listening to. So I listened to it over and over again and just started getting that rhyme pattern down, seeing how it's done, learning from the greats like Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, LL Cool J, and just listening to them do these raps and learning them, reciting them, and it was just the coolest thing to me. So I got into it, and I just continue since 1991. So it's been like 35 years of rapping at different stints. And I think the question was also about I forget what else. Sorry, you might have to cut that part out. What
No,
was
that's
the other
great.
part of the question? Because that was about rap, but there was something else you
Yeah,
asked me before
rap,
that.
and then like balancing like that passion with like
Yeah.
work responsibilities,
Okay.
life, family, and
Okay.
all that.
Yeah. So mixing my passion for rap with work responsibilities, parenting responsibilities is honestly the only time I find time to do the rap is after the kids are down in bed at night. I take that time to myself to write, do content on the weekends, do content with a videographer I'm working with now that I do it on the weekends when I got time and I run out and say I'm only going to be gone for a couple hours to do this. My wife also has a passion. She's a photographer and she has a small business that she does photography of families, and so she has that passion. That's her art, and my art is the rapping and visualization of that music in the form of Instagram reels is what it is about now, and
Yeah.
that's how people consume the entertainment most of the time now is through reels. So getting that visualization and working that way creatively is all the things that I have to find time for. And I don't I put pressure, like, with the content is very difficult. And, I worked with a creative firm and I was doing daily content and it was too much. I was totally burnt out. I hated it. And now I said, well, you know what? I just really need to like release a song a week or, like do a really good video for a song, every other week. And, people love that. And then that's the quality. So I'm trying to go with quality over quantity this time around
Yeah.
because it's just there's so much stuff out there. If you want to do something, you want to make it stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, I think you got to give yourself grace because life's hard, especially when you have kids. Like, there's just a lot of unforeseen things that come up. And for me, like, I started this podcast. I think it was like 2020. Well, no, actually, 2022. I think. I think it's been like 3 years since I've had the podcast, but yeah, like I started it and had a goal for like one episode a week and was hitting that at the beginning, and then just life kind of takes over. And so I got like super down of like, oh man, I should be putting all this pressure on myself to release stuff. But then I had to go back to just like, why was I doing it in the first place? Is so that I could be inspired to be more present with my daughters. And so then especially like after having our fourth kid, man, it's just like taken a lot now with four kids. So I still love doing interviews like this. But they've had to be more spread out, unfortunately. But it's been better like for me. And so instead of just giving up completely, like just finding ways to still do what you love, but also like giving yourself grace.
Yeah. And that comes back to really telling yourself that you can only do so much in a given day. And if you think about the list of 40 things you need to do every day, you're going to live a very stressful life. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can take the positive spirit and say, you know what, I did these 5 things today on this list, or 2 things today on this list. And you know what? That's progress. Those are those little steps. Those are those first steps. And you just got to say, all right,
Yeah.
I woke up and I did these things, and now I'm closer to where I needed to go with whatever goal I had.
Yeah, I think even celebrating those little wins, like even if you didn't get those 10 things checked off, it's like, did you do one thing on your list today that made for a good day? And that's even just like being present with my kids. Like sometimes it's like
Yeah.
I've got a huge list and I come home and I'm like, okay, well, this is what I need to get done before bed. And even if that list goes out the window, then it's like, okay, did I make this day better for my kids because I was present when I got home? And that
Yeah.
alone is a win.
Yeah. I stopped looking at my work phone. When the kids come home, I really have to. And I said this um, you know, at a meeting once that, I can't be a half a worker and a half of a parent. So, it's very difficult when you're on the phones and the kids realize it, that you're on the phone. And it is tough to do both because that gets them irritated and then they act out because they want your attention.
Yeah.
And you can nip that all in the bud by just being present and giving them that attention that they need at that moment. And, that's the thing. Like, I was pretty lazy on Saturday. Sunday was Mother's Day. I knew her to be out all day. So, and my wife wanted to get out, so she had an alone day the day before Mother's Day. I said, go out, and we didn't do anything. We just really laid around, watched shows, and ate and played outside a little bit. It was nothing that, and I didn't get anything done that I really needed to do. But I'm like, you know what? Kids sometimes need. They had a tough week. They went to school for 5 straight days. Sometimes kids need a break. And, I know a lot of parents that always have activities, and I find it a little bit much. Give your kids some time to just relax and, be kids, play outside, watch TV. I'm sure I watched plenty of TV when I was a kid,
Yeah. Well, what's one of your favorite ways to bond with your kids?
Favorite ways to bond, you know, my daughter started playing basketball this year, and
Awesome.
I was the assistant coach to the team, and that was like the best bonding experience I've probably ever had with my daughter. Was being there, because at the beginning she didn't want to play like 2 rounds in a row. They had like 10-minute quarters, and they would go in, and she didn't want to play twice in a row. And then at the end, she was asking to go in again, and she really got into it and she got better, and I worked with her in it. That was a great bonding experience. So I don't know if she's going to be the next WNBA star, but she enjoyed it and she wants to keep playing, and I'm going to put a basketball hoop up, so
Oh,
we'll
that's
play more
great. Yeah.
basketball. So
Fun.
yeah, so that's really the best way that I've, as a girl dad, have related to my daughter. And then my son is just playing cars.
Great. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we got our daughters for Christmas this like giant Hot Wheels Ultimate Garage. And then they each got like cars in their stockings, and that was super fun, like to play with them. But it's interesting like how girls and boys will play differently with the same things. Like my daughters just
Yes.
have such an imagination, and they'll create stories and characters with the cars and things. But it's great.
Yeah. That's the difference for sure. Like I would play with cars and bang them together. My son does the same thing, and you know, yeah, my daughter, figuring out how to play Barbie and make up the they're going to a party. Okay, who's going to the party? Were you invited? Like it's a whole story. You got to
Yeah.
come up with. So yeah, there is definitely differences to playing cars and racing cars with my son versus doing a dress up scene at Barbie's new
Yeah.
party at her dream house.
And then I want to go back to the music. Is there a particular line that you're most proud of? A particular lyric?
I have this song at the end, the last song. It's called "Live for These Babies," and I don't know. I wrote this song. This is how it all started. That this new turnaround on it. I had this song that I woke up. When you have a business trip and you have to wake up at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. to get a 6:30 a.m. flight, and I knew I had to wake up early, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I wrote a whole song in my head, and by the time I landed, I had the whole song written, um, and it just all came to me at once. It's called "Live for These Babies," and I say my destiny's recipe is to give them the best of me. So I just want to give my best to my kids, and that's what I'm most proud of. Is that yeah? I hope they like it. I don't know.
That's
It's
beautiful. I
tough.
love that line.
Yeah. I just, I don't know if they'll like it one day. You have to give yourself grace because even with my art, you have a lot of self doubt and you have things like, you go to negative places and I try not to go there and be like, oh, what am I doing? I'm wrapping them out. My kids don't eat and my kid won't sleep, and like, this is going to embarrass them. And I'm like, it's all done out of fun and humor. So I don't want to ever go there, but that's tough. And people always doubt themselves and they worry about things. I try not to go there, but it happens to us all.
Yeah. What's something that your daughter has taught you? And it could be at different stages in life too, like early dad years and now like yeah, your daughter almost 9.
Yeah, I have to be calm. I jump on her sometimes, and I've learned not to do that as much, but I still do. And it's that idea that we brought up earlier that, you know, things aren't going to be perfect and you can't put that pressure on your kids. And, I just want her to be who she is and find her own voice, find what she loves, and go after that. And don't put too much pressure on her. And I've learned not to do it as much as I used to.
Great. And then I want to give you an opportunity to just share. This is what I call this segment, like proud dad moment. So something to brag on your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter was in a play, her first play last summer, and she had a little speaking role. It was a Finding Nemo summer camp, and she was great in it, and she knew all her lines and she did all the dance moves and she had this big smile. And just seeing her do that because we had talked about it so much that she would be in a play, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to be in a play. She wants
Yeah,
to be out there, and it gives me such a proud moment that I'm the same way. I want to be out in front of the crowd, entertaining people, and to see her also want to entertain people, it just gives me such a proud dad moment.
that's so cool. Yeah, has she done plays before?
That was her first one.
Really?
So
Okay,
that's
cool.
why it was such a proud moment. And she wants to do more and she's gonna
Yeah,
get out there and keep it going. And it's just she naturally just does it and it's really beautiful to see.
that's great. That was such a good experience for her, and that it encourages her to want to do more. That's awesome.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's tough speaking in public and then being 8 years old and being in a play, or 7 years old when she did that. So, and being in a play, that's a really important experience for kids to have at such a young age.
Well, that's impressive too. Like I know so many people that would be so fearful. I mean, many adults would be fearful to just get up in front of a crowd like that. A lot of people have a fear of public speaking or just presenting in any capacity in front of an audience. So that's awesome. That's an amazing skill. Yeah, we're almost out of time, but
Okay.
I wanted to just wrap up with my favorite question to ask at the end of these interviews. And this is an opportunity. Pretend I'm not here and pretend that you're talking directly to your daughter. I want to give you an opportunity to just leave a special message for her.
Just go after your dream and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, because you only get one shot, and each day you can only do as much as you can in that day. And just do it. Don't worry about anything. Just be happy and be content with what you have, because it's so important to have such grace and gratitude for all we have. And I love you.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. And then Mike, tell everyone where can they find Dad Rap, and then plug your new album coming out June 13th.
All right. Yes, it's at Dad Rap Music on Instagram is really the best place to follow me, where I'll be putting out all my music. Also, www.dadrapmusic.com is where I have my merch website. So check that out. And I'll be putting out this album, the Midlife Crisis EP, on June 13th. Will be streaming on all services. So just, I appreciate all the support that people give me. And I didn't really want to even do like a merch site. I'll tell you that real quick. But, to promote something, it does take money. You can't just, if you really actually want to get some promotional dollars, music labels spend millions in promotional dollars. And just to spend a few $100 here or there to do different things that need to get done to promote the album, I said, you know what, if I could just like cut even with some shirt sales, and then if I ever started making profits, I would love to give back to charities. One of the things that I really love to do. So nothing about the merch is about me like a money grab. It's just all about giving back to people, entertaining people. So check it out at Dad Rap Music on Instagram. Thank you so much for the time, Matthew.
That's great. And then if I could put you on the spot, we didn't discuss this before, but could I leave at the end of this episode a small sample of what's going to be on the new album?
Yes. It's a dream. So I really appreciate the time, Matthew.
Mike, thank you so much for being on Girl Dad Nation. It was awesome talking to you. And for everyone out there in listener land, thank you for supporting the show. You could find me at girldadnation.org or on Instagram and Facebook at Girl Dad Nation, or you could leave me an email at girldadnationpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, go be a dad.
Snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows, snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows. We get in the door, they wanna throw on YouTube. Wait one sec, there's a new episode of Blue's Clues. And Amazon Prime got Peter Cat with new shoes. I could talk about all our shows on Road Crew. All the snacks we're buying, snack packs we're trying. The 42 pack of Frito-Lays is trying. We got the gallon-sized goldfish, you know this. We're home, give the neighbors a notice. Blasting kids while bouncing on my block. Pop out the whip, pull out the skip hop. Bring it all in the house, it's time to pig out. Save some for dinner, but my kids all out. My girl loves Trolls, my girl loves Bluey. Back in the day, I watched Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Back in the day, I hit happy hour and stay out. Now I come home and watch Genevieve play out. Snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows, snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows, snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows, snacks and shows, snacks and shows. When we get home, it's snacks and shows.
Ai phải giờ đây